Just gonna give it a few minutes for people to hop on in, but I hope y'all like the music. Also taking any requests. We're building a playlist. I will drop it in the chat shortly. Give me 1 second. I know, right? We trying to be lit, okay? It's 2020. You trying to have some fun. It's one of them years. Okay. Please come on in, folks. We're so excited to have people here with us. Um, Definitely gonna have some fun. Just getting things set up. We got a little bit of a jam-packed day. As far as this hour. Um, so excited to have you all here. As many of you all may know, my name is Michelle. I'm the senior program manager here at Women Engaged. So we're here having fun, vibing. Gonna have a great chat about some of the questions that we're getting as we provide answers. So I'm about to drop the link for our shared playlist. So this music is actually curated by people on our team, on our staff, and other volunteers about just some of the music that's keeping them energized and going through this little campaign cycle. So definitely would love to get folks to vibe with us. It's an open playlist. Just ask if you all be, considerate of other folks and where they are. Right. We'll give it a couple more minutes, then we're gonna go ahead and get started. So excited to have you all here. Hey, come on, me, y'all. I just, you gotta, you gotta jam it out, okay? You gotta jam it out. Oh goodness. All right, y'all. I'm just trying to keep up with the comments. Everything's moving at once. I got like three different screens going. Hey, 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 hey. It's not often that we get to hear the end of songs anymore. I didn't even realize that song got so lit.
Pick peppers,
Like,
but rhyme, Humpty, Dumpty, fell down. That's his art. Time, Jack nimble, what? Nimble, and he was quick, but jam, master mud, faster Jack, saw Jay's dick. Now little Bo Peep, cold lost her
okay,
cheek, and
y'all.
Rip Van Winkle fell hell asleep. And out of chilling summer in Wonderland, Jackson
Okay, so welcome, folks. I'm so excited. My name is Michelle. I'm the senior program manager here at Women Engaged. Thank you, Malika. Welcome. I appreciate it. I use pronouns they and she. I just want to highlight for folks who are new to this space that Women Engaged, we sit at the intersection of reproductive justice and civic engagement. Been in the game since 2014, turning six later this month. And for us, we really believe in like meeting people where how they identify, how they express ourselves. So we use pronouns, making sure that we use the pronouns that fit best to us. And so that's why I always start my introductions off with that. So I use they, them, and she, her. And so I'm super excited to have folks join us. Our special guest, Gayla with Georgia Conservation Voters, will be joining us in about 10 minutes. But in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead take care of a little bit of business. As you all may see, my board back there has changed, and that's because the voter registration deadline has passed in Georgia. However, early voting does start on Monday, October 12th. Also, as a follow-up from last week's video, that same day, we actually got notification that a judge ordered for the census to continue on to October 31st. So go ahead, make sure you get counted in this upcoming census. It's so important when it comes to the power of our vote. So for folks who don't know, the census is conducted every 10 years to get a count of the people who are in our areas, and making sure that we are drawing maps that are fair to making sure that all of our voices are heard equally across the board. There's a thing that occurs called gerrymandering, where oftentimes political candidates, parties, and politicians will redraw maps for their party's favor, which oftentimes really hurts our ability to be heard in the ways that we need to be and be represented in the ways that we need to be. So it only takes maybe less than 2 minutes to take the census. They don't ask much invasive questioning, and it's important that we get everyone counted. So we're talking like children under 5, people who may just be staying with you temporarily, everyone in the household, making sure to get counted as you take the census. No special codes required, nothing of that sort. And you can also check that out too. I'm actually going to drop the link down now in regards to taking the census. And so we just want to make sure that we're getting a full count of our communities. We'll bring up, this is the first time in the history of the census we can actually, make sure that we have the power to get counted. Historically, the census has often undercounted people of color, especially for Black communities. And so this time we actually have the power to take that back by using this online system that I'm going to drop in the comments right now. Hold on, y'all. Yes. All right. So I just noticed it. And so as I dropped that in there, as I mentioned, early voting is starting October 12th. Oh, welcome, Andre. Welcome, Malika. I'm so excited that you both are here, ready for this conversation. Definitely manning it out. I will say I was able to, figure out the, what is this thing? How to do Zoom on the Facebook Live. So I'm super excited about that. Because it was definitely a little hit and miss there, but super excited about it. Okay, hold on. Can I keep up with this stuff here? There we go. All right. I got like multiple tabs open, y'all. So I want to make sure I don't miss anybody's comments as y'all come in, but I'm so excited to have y'all here. The next thing, of course, is that knowing like you guys, the countdown is coming. And I think the biggest thing is that a lot of folks are saying that election day is November 3rd, when in reality, we need to start pivoting how we message that, because we need to be voting early. We can vote by mail, or we can make sure we take the preparation to get there. And so, oh, hey, Lauren, welcome. Yes, take this census. Thank you for, it's fall. Super excited to wear the black lip. So, making sure that we got that. But making sure that we also, we orient ourselves to how we start talking about voting and election day. Like the real thing is that we should be taking the steps now to make sure that our voices are heard for the upcoming election. And so that means that if you're voting by absentee or mail-in ballot, that you're going ahead and requesting that ballot today if you have not already. And if you have, you can actually check your status by following that bit.ly in the background. That's bit.ly/capital WEC lowercase HEPK, and you can check your status today to see where your absentee ballot is, if it's been issued out yet, and when you should be getting it. I know for myself personally, I had mine issued back at the end of September, and I just got mine maybe about a week ago. And so I was super excited, went ahead, filled it out, and go ahead and put it back in the mail. If you don't want to put it in the mail, however, you can always take it to a Dropbox, or you can hand deliver it yourself to your county election office. Definitely want to bring that out as well. Most states, yes. Jay, thank you for bringing that up. I believe in Missouri, though, you can still do it. Like that's a reason that you can request, now that I'm thinking back on it. But thank you for bringing up that question. Some states still don't allow that per se without a reason, but I believe it's like 48 states that do, and I know Missouri is one of them. But thank you for bringing that up. I think definitely now really making sure that folks have the information that they need to go vote. And I will say for my out of state folks, awesome. Uh-oh. Maybe that was not the oh, this Bentley went to a different thing. It's okay, y'all. We're gonna check on that Bentley, making sure that we get you what you need. I thought that that was the Bentley. I may have mistakenly said the wrong Bentley. Don't follow that Bentley in the background. Like, oh goodness. Let's see here. We could, better yet, we'll direct you over to the Secretary of State's My Voter page. That's mvp.sos.ga.gov. And for my out-of-state folks who are tuning in, you can always get your most accurate information from vote.org. And so again, for my in-state people in Georgia, you can check out M as in Michael, VP.ga.gov. And for my out-of-state folks, that's vote.org. The way they word it sounds like you have to have COVID, but I know, right? And it's very confusing. I think the reality is, and we're facing that here too in Georgia, is that a lot of our states were just not ready to handle the volume of people who wanted to use the mail-in ballots. And for also, I just want to uplift too. So if folks don't know, like I'm originally from Missouri. My whole family is in Missouri, and they actually don't have early voting in Missouri. And so right now it's really about just voting by mail or voting on election day for them. Yeah, and plus there's no way for you to like prove that you have COVID to them in order to get the ballot. But we definitely want to make sure that those of y'all who don't want to be around large groups of people do not get that. So yes. And I would say first step is to always contact your Secretary of State in Missouri. And then also contact your county elections office for that Jackson County. But yes, I'm so excited to have you all here asking these questions, engaging with us today. But I really just wanted to highlight where we are in the next steps as far as going forward and really starting to shift our focus around not necessarily that election day is the day, but that is the last day. And we're going to start talking about how we begin to move forward. There we go. Thank you so much. That's the link that we need, the My Voter link. And so we got that down there for our Georgia folks. If you all need to, check your status, there you can also track the status of your absentee ballot, where it is in progress, other things of that nature. Also, some other things that are on the list, I just want to lift this up too, is that actually next week, our founding executive director, Malika Redmond, will be featured on Turn Up Tuesday. You all will be seeing a post coming out from our page later on this evening. So I hope you all come and tune in with us during that Facebook Live as well. It'll start at 5:30 Eastern Standard Time, 4:30 Central Time. But we're super excited to have that as well. Again, we're really trying to kick up the jams because the thing is that things are so serious right now. The tensions are high, and it's just so important that we continue to bring joy as we continue to do our outreach here. So I hope you all can tune in. And here we go. We got Gayla. Gayla's coming in right now on the Zoom. Gayla, can you hear me?
Hi, yes I can. Come on, you better come in with the tunes. You better come with the music. I love to see.
Oh, to hear you know. Oh my goodness. Oh, no problem, Malika. We're so excited to have you on Turn Up Tuesday. So everybody, we got Gayla on the Zoom now. I'm trying to see if, because this is my first time doing Zoom through Facebook. So, it's one of them things. Okay, there you go. You're showing up. Okay. So I have two different windows up. And so I wanted to make sure that it's going, but there is a little bit of a lag for us on this side.
Yeah.
Live on Zoom versus folks how they're seeing it come up on their computer. So welcome. Oh my goodness, we're so excited to have you. And so everyone who's tuning in with us, this is Gayla with Georgia Conservation Voters. And so we're going to have a great conversation today. Just talking a little bit more about some of the work that they're doing over there, as well as starting to talk a little bit more about down ballot. So a lot of attention right now is on, focus on the seat of the presidency, but we really want to start talking about some of those positions down ballot and how they directly affect us. So welcome, Gayla. And so want to go ahead, give you an opportunity to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about some, Georgia Conservation Voters and some of the work that you all are doing right now in the midst of this campaign season.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me. Always excited to be here. So my name is Gayla. I am the civic engagement organizer for Georgia Conservation Voters. We work at the intersection of environmental justice and civic engagement. So that means that we mobilize people who care passionately about the planet to the polls. So whether you see attacks on our water quality, our air quality, even your utility bills, we mobilize those people to cast their ballots, because the policy we need to actually enact and combat the climate crisis has to come from like a very systemic, like a very structural place. So we work really hard to mobilize those people. We do kind of like the typical GOTV, the get out the vote. And basically what makes our GOTV a little bit different is that we try and connect what is happening in someone's everyday in terms of the climate to why they go to the polls. For instance, one of our campaigns is what I will talk about shortly, but like essentially how your energy bill is tied to the environment. Basically, the air that you breathe when you step outside your house is tied to the environment, thus tied to our political system. So there's just like several ways that we try to bridge the gap of, well, I won't say gap, but kind of like bridge the understanding of civic engagement, whether that be census, voting, even knowing who your political representatives are, and the environment, whether that be preserving the Okefenokee, whether that be going out canoeing or shoot the hooch or something like, but yeah, so that's what we do over here at GCV.
Oh my goodness, that is so wonderful. We definitely appreciate that work, because we do a lot of work at the intersections that I mentioned earlier at the top of the hour of reproductive justice and civic engagement. And one of the important tenets for us is the ability to raise our families in safe and sustainable communities, and us knowing how big the climate really impacts that. And so we're really thankful to have you all here to just really talk to us a little bit more and dig into a bit about the Public Service Commission. I think for folks who don't know, who are tuning in 2018, of course, during the election between Stacey Abrams and Brian Kemp, as we were waiting for the ballots to be counted, there was actually a runoff election for not only the Secretary of State position, but for the Public Service Commissioner's position. And I think sometimes we don't necessarily give enough spotlight to it. And so I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about like, what exactly is the Public Service Commission and how exactly do they impact our utilities?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the question. So the Public Service Commission is the group of 5 elected officials that directly regulate energy and gas in the state of Georgia. I would give you the super long mission statement that they have on their website, but it's a bit wordy and people don't remember it. But the biggest takeaways that people should have about like what the PSC does is essentially how they regulate energy and gas. And when I say regulate energy and gas, I'm talking about bills. In terms of like whenever you turn on your lights, your gas, like, so let me start here with the fact that Georgia Power has a monopoly of energy in the state of Georgia. And what that means for people who don't know is that like they control, essentially they are the sole owner of energy in Georgia. So essentially what happens is different local electric membership cooperatives called EMCs basically get their energy from Georgia Power, and it's kind of distributed that way. So The PSC doesn't directly regulate like local EMCs, but in so many ways they kind of do, in the fact that Georgia Power is the sole owner of energy in the state of Georgia. And so the PSC, they regulate bills. They just like recently in 2019, they voted to raise the rates of Georgians. Which, because of so much of the public outcry of like, hey, don't raise our rates, which was called Fight the Hike, it wasn't raised the full amount. However, it was still raised. And recently, they lifted the moratorium on utilities. Basically, that means that there was a freeze on disconnections during COVID because people were out of work and they couldn't really afford it. And also the fact that energy is an essential need. So that's why the moratorium was put in place. However, it was recently lifted July 15th of this year. Mind you, Georgia is still at record unemployment. Everybody is still struggling. Like, energy is still an essential need. Just like right now, I'm talking to you on my laptop and I'm using my energy to do so. And this is a part of my work. So of course, I'm not the only person in Georgia that needs energy to do their work, to do their job, but also school. So if we are to understand that energy is this essential thing that everyone has, the lifting of the moratorium is very detrimental to the everyday families of Georgia. Like, oh, well, these people, they can just go to LIHEAP, and LIHEAP, I forget the full acronym, but it's like Light Assistance Program, something like that. But essentially, it's an assistance program that people sometimes use for assistance with their bills. However, I believe one of the requirements for LIHEAP is that you have to be a citizen. So for me, I'm thinking about immigrants and how undocumented folks may be cut out of some of these assistance funds because either whether that be citizenship status or whether that just be bureaucracy, because some of these forms are long. But I give all of that backstory because it is literally the Public Service Commission's job to make sure that they're supposed to serve as the people's advocates. Like, it's called a Public Service Commission because they're supposed to be publicly in service of people, to make sure that a company like Georgia Power, like owned cooperatives and stuff like that, even though they don't control EMCs, still like making sure that they're not being taken advantage of, that they are being an advocate for making sure people know what's going on, making sure advocating for energy efficiency. Because this past Wednesday was Energy Efficiency Day, and that's just a day dedicated to conserving energy. But do most folks like I'm thinking about the education piece around, like, there's just a lot of work to be done, and the PSC's job is to help lead that education, to make sure that there is policy that is helping and supporting everyday Georgia families and not just a corporate company. Like, that was a long answer, but essentially that's like the PSC's job, to make sure that we're not paying these astronomical bills, to make sure that it's affordable, that it's accessible. Georgia Power has a map of like outages, like people who have who don't have power and stuff like that. So their job is literally to be a people's advocate. Like, if you just ignored everything I just said, their job is literally to be a people's advocate for utilities. that's the job.
Not a problem. Please, it's okay to be, there's nothing too lengthy for this segment, because I think oftentimes, again, the Public Service Commission is something that a lot of people are not necessarily talking about. So I think definitely getting that information to folks is definitely needed. And for folks who are listening live, go ahead and drop your comments in the chat, and we'll go ahead and lift those up to the top too. But I think you really raised a great point too when we start talking about the various intersections in which people are really impacted by this. I mean, it's 2020. We're all very much aware with the pandemic. I mean, we're here on Zoom, Facebook Live. Okay, like, we all understand that, like, we're in a space where we're having to be at home more often. Our electricity, we're using much more energy and power and resources in order to keep the day-to-day going. We're also trying to support one another, and then even thinking about how folks who have a language barrier, or who have other disabilities that impact their way to accessing certain things, and how we can continue to support folks. I guess my question more so is now, what can people do to get involved? Like, I think really get involved in amplifying some of the things surrounding the Public Service Commission, especially, this is somebody perfectly raised up the question, how can we learn more about the candidates who are running for the Public Service Commission and learning more about them?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. So first things first, have to do a shameless plug for our PSC accountability website, because we have a website dedicated to letting people know who the PSC is, what they do, and kind of just like how Georgia Power funding their campaigns impacts the decisions they make. So if you go to psc.gcvoters.org, that should take you to the website that will tell you like, what is the PSC? What does this have to do with me? And it will show you like percentages that Georgia Power or their contractors have donated to candidates. And basically, what does that mean for the decisions that happen in Georgia? So if you want to get involved, feel free to visit that website. Once again, that's psc.gcvoters.org. So you can go there, learn all the information, and then of course sign up for the newsletter and all the things. But also social media. Feel free to follow us on social media. That's GCV Ed Fund. And that's where you'll see more, like, that's where you can connect with us, because like we have like phone banks and text banks. Because the thing about it is we do outreach in this specific race because not a ton of people know about it. Like, because people are watching their energy bills skyrocket, their gas has been cut, just like people's gas have been cut off, and we're about to be in winter. Like, no one should be freezing to death in winter. No one. Like, being warm in winter is a human right. Like, I don't know if that's been said before, but I'm saying it now. But yeah, so also, like, some of the data that's been released, it's well over 300,000 people who have been issued disconnection notices. So this is a very serious issue that is impacting people all over the state, that I wish more people would like, and when I mean people, I mean more so like media, would like acknowledge and really pay attention to, because this is something that impacts the day-to-day. Whether that be like your energy is off, so you can't plug in your humidifier, so you out here struggling to breathe in a pandemic. Like, it's just like, whether that be you don't have any energy, so you have to go to a McDonald's to do your homework. Like, these things are essential. And so that's so much of why we do this work, and why we encourage folks to get involved, whether that be volunteering or even just like sharing that website. Like, if you know somebody with an energy bill, send them the website and be like, hey, do you know what's happening? Do you know these people are on the ballot? There are 2 seats on the ballot. Oh, that's something I definitely should have mentioned. They are statewide races. So yes, they have districts of like who they represent. However, they are statewide. So when you go to the ballot, you will see both districts 1 and 4, regardless of where you live. But yeah, so send people the website. Be like, hey, do you know what's going on? Do you plan? We also have a vote pledge on like our different materials, basically like pledge to vote in those races, because I know folks are pledging to vote. So excited for that. But also, please plan to vote down ballot, because those down ballot races are really what's impacting the material conditions of everyday Georgians. And that's so much of why we do this work.
That is so important. I'm so thankful that you raised that up. And it just reminded me, just for folks who are new to some of the work that we're doing, Women Engage and Georgia Conservation Voters are both 501c3 nonprofits. So we don't advocate for or against any political party or candidate, but we're here more so about the education pieces, making sure that folks know about what's going on. And so I got a question from the chat. And the question was, are their meetings public? And do they allocate time for commentary from the public during those meetings?
That's a wonderful question. So honestly, it unfortunately, it depends. because when Fight the Hike was going on, there was several community members came out and spoke in favor of not raising grades. However, recently with the lifting of the moratorium, there was a lot of red tape around who could speak and who couldn't speak. With the Public Service Commission, there's this thing called being an intervener, which I wish I could give all the details of what it means to be an intervener. However, there are environment lawyers that I feel like will be able to give a better definition. But essentially what happens is it depends on the issue. So for instance, with the moratorium, if like, the goal is for like, they already have made their minds up to lift it, like they're not necessarily going to prioritize public comment, especially if there's an assumption that people don't care about the Public Service Commission, don't care about their activities, then they're going to be like, they're not going to prioritize it. And that's where people like myself, you, and everyone paying attention comes in, because like we need our elected officials to know our values, what we think. Like, of course, like you just said, I can't tell you what to think. I can't tell you what to advocate. I just know that we do want you to like speak your mind and like, express yourself. But so honestly, yes, they do have a link for public comment. It's often it's typically like an email or like a link they send you. You may get a Zoom link because of COVID, like everything has switched to digital. So you may get a Zoom link for how you can like actually speak. However, that depends on if you're an intervener or not, which is, I don't know. But essentially you're either going to get sent that, or they provide like an email or like a form in which you can submit like a typed comment. So to answer that question though, in my opinion, I still don't think it's enough as far as to encompass the thoughts and expressions of everyday Georgians. And a lot of everyday Georgians don't know what's happening. Like, because it's not like, there's a ton of outreach around like, hey, we're the Public Service Commission, this is what we do. Like, so I mean, these people are being cut off from their energy and they don't even know who's responsible for it. Like, they know they're cut off, they do know that, but they don't know who's responsible. So yeah, so to answer that question, it's kind of like a yes and no. And that like, yes, you can, but also it's not super accessible.
I know, trying to get a lot of these meetings much more accessible for folks, because they're the things that are happening behind closed doors that directly impact us. Mm-hmm. But we oftentimes look at the other people who are in the public eye about it. So I know oftentimes when we're on the ground, I hear people, they'll be talking about utilities and pointing fingers at the mayor, yeah. And like, or pointing fingers at the city council and not knowing about this existing structure and, ways that we can get it. And so we got some people who are just thanking you for being an advocate on these issues so we can really work to get folks there.
Yeah.
So, we got another question. Like, how long have the current commissioners been in their position? Like, how long are their terms? Do they serve for like 4 years? Is it 6 years, 2 years?
Yeah. So their terms are for 6 years. However, some of them are appointed, just like one of them, I believe Jason Shaw was appointed. So I think he's only been in his seats, I want to say for 1 or 2 years. So honestly, it depends. So for instance, if someone retires or doesn't run again, or unfortunately passes in office or something, the governor will appoint a commissioner, which that's another interesting fact I'm going to mention, the fact that there has never been a Black person elected to the Public Service Commission in the history of the Public Service Commission. Mind you, the body itself dates back to like the late 1800s, I want to say 1879. And then like the actual creation of the Public Service Commission, I want to say it was around the Atlanta race riots. I want to say like 1906, 1907. So in the entire history of this body, there has not been a Black person, whether man, woman, non-binary person, has never been elected to the Public Service Commission. There was one Black person that was on the commission, and that's because they were appointed by the governor, I want to say back in the 90s. But that person was appointed, and then when it came time for the election, they got they did not win their re-election. So that's another conversation to be had as far as like how these races are done, because there is some, like, a lawsuit was filed basically explaining the voting rights violation and how these elections are ran. Because essentially, if we're looking at the demographics of Georgia and basically how Georgia isn't an overwhelmingly majority minority state, like, it's getting there, but it's not there yet. And when we're looking at our electorate, when we're looking at voter suppression, people being purged from the voter rolls, these are the people, these same people that are being purged from the voter rolls are connected to the same people with the high energy burden, with the high energy bills, who are directly impacted by power outages and coal ash pollution and contamination. So all of this is like working together, unfortunately, in that these people serve this long period of time without the consent of people most impacted by their decisions. And that is the point of contention for myself and other, like, we work very closely with the Partnership for Southern Equity on these issues, because we know that there is no just transition without energy equity. Like, just point blank. Like, it's just not happening. But that was a really long-winded answer. But essentially, yes, they serve 6-year terms, and it fluctuates, like whether someone retires or unfortunately passes. And yeah, so a lot of background to the PSC, and they have a lot of impact, but we often folks don't see it. So
No, and that's so real. And I appreciate you for getting it. I didn't know that there hadn't been like a Black person on there in the history. What, and I can already imagine that probably most folks on there are much older, probably in the boomer generation and stuff like that. So this really, just to be honest, I mean,
you're
really
not wrong.
and I think really bringing it back to like voting and voting suppression. That's why I think for this last part, I want to kind of start taking us moving forward. Because the thing is that there's a lot of energy about voting right now. But as you know, as we know, a lot of the work that it takes for us to really combat the issues that we're facing right now happen outside of the election, like the election time.
Absolutely.
So what do people do? Like, I'm a voter, I voted. What else can I do to really raise awareness around this issue and really impact change when it comes to not just the Public Service Commission, but more broadly, and to the point of some of the work is like the climate and like how we can really start affecting change in that way. Because I really, I think for us, it's that like vote, yes, but another extension of your voting is that civic engagement power.
Absolutely.
And so I guess like trying to put out some ideas about how folks can really get involved in that beyond the elections in November.
Yeah, thank you for that question. Wonderful question. So first things first is, yes, we want people to vote, and specifically in that race, but also there can be energy efficiency tips you can take within your own household. Just like, for instance, on Energy Efficiency Day, we were just posting like a couple things folks can do, whether that be washing clothes on cool instead of warm, because a lot of energy goes into warming those clothes. Not warming the clothes, warming the water. So if like something doesn't need to be washed on warm, like, you can wash it on cool, and that can conserve energy. Whether that be talking to your local community action authority about weatherization, which we're going to be posting more like resources and stuff like that on our social media. In that, weatherization can help energy efficiency within your home to help lower your energy bills. But also getting the word out about the Public Service Commission, because honestly, a lot of things kind of just like slide right through, because it's just like, no one's gonna check us. Like, the public's not gonna notice. People aren't gonna, make a stink about it. So like, we're just gonna do this because there's an assumption that people power isn't there, and we need to show that the people power never goes away. So there's that, but also in the age of COVID, I feel like I have to mention this because mutual aid has popped up and just like really taken over, which I'm so grateful for, because I love mutual aid. So there are some funds, just like if you're in Fulton County, there's FACA, the Fulton County Community Action Authority, like there are action authorities that literally provide aid, like direct aid to people with their energy bills. So if you're someone that has the disposable income or that has the capacity, like feel free to actually donate your money to these community action authorities or these energy equity funds, because people are struggling with these utility bills. And I have a job, but I am not wealthy. So yeah, so if anything, you can get involved, whether that be spreading awareness, like letting people know, whether that be weatherization in your own home and kind of like helping bridge that gap. And I'm just going to keep reiterating education, because a lot of the basics of energy policy is not accessible to like the everyday person. Um, so the education pieces, but also like volunteering with people. Just like, for instance, we do like outreach because like it's an election year, but also just like doing calls, rallies, protests, having a book club about like whether that be about All We Can Say by Ayanna Johnson. Like there's just so many ways that people can get involved. So I guess my question, I guess, to whoever is listening is to be like, okay, what do I have capacity to and what are my strengths? And kind of just like really leaning into that, because whether it be a just transition, whether it be energy equity at large, like there's a role for all of us. And if you're doing something outside of your comfort zone, you don't have to do that. Like you can find like, whether you're an education person, like let's say you're an actual educator, like let's say you want to have a lesson with your kids about energy equity and what that has to do with the climate crisis. Because I've been talking largely about bills, but also they impact energy projects in the state of Georgia. For instance, Plant Vogtle, and Vogtle, that's VOGTLE. Plant Vogtle is the nuclear plant in the state of Georgia that causes all kinds of like environmental problems, but also health problems for people in those surrounding areas. Georgia One did some research on that, and it causes a lot of health problems for those communities. And nuclear energy isn't essentially clean for that way. Like there are some people that are like, we want clean energy, and some take that as like, oh, it's not coal. And I'm just like, but it's still harming the community. So the thing about it is the Public Service Commission has the authority to tell Georgia Power and other people who control Plant Vogtle, like they can say like, oh, we want to shut down this plant. Like it's harming community. We don't want this anymore. They can say like, however, in past years, they have not done that. Like they have, Plant Vogtle is over budget and behind schedule, yet continue to get money, continue to get greenlit. And like these are the type of decisions that impact Georgians, whether you have an energy bill or whether you just walk outside and breathe air, whether you're by Plant Vogtle, whether you're by a coal ash pond. Like I could just go on in terms of just like how it impacts. So if anything, it's like, how does this impact me, and what do I have capacity to do in my community? Because the community in Juliet is fighting back coal ash water contamination. Like it's just so many ways that people can say like, you know what, this is happening in my community, or this is happening in Georgia. I don't like this. I don't think it's right. And I want to support how I can, whether that be phone banking, text banking, whether that be sending flyers, making a flyer. I don't know. The movement needs every skill that people have. So yeah, the best ways to get involved is, of course, to support, to donate monies to people who are struggling, because there are people struggling. And yeah, those are just some of the biggest ways that people can get involved.
Oh my goodness. You said so many things out there, and I love it. And I think definitely the biggest thing around building people power. So I really want to say shout out to the folks who are tuning in live with us. Shout out to the rest of y'all who are watching this in the future. Make sure to check out the links here. We posted the links to the campaign that Georgia Conservation Voters are doing around the Accountability Project. Make sure you pledge to get involved, put it out the resource around the Fulton County Action Authority, and really just, taking this first step. But we just want to thank y'all for taking the first step by tuning in today and just getting, the information needed. And like, Gayla said, it takes every little bit. So even just sharing this, getting your other people to get involved, clicking the links and taking action is really going to help us go, above and beyond with this. And so
Yeah.
now we're starting to tailor down. We're about 15 minutes to the hour. And so this is a part where I love to just kind of like highlight a little bit about the personhood. So like a lot of times, people see us as organizers and, we come out here with the facts. We come out here running down the information, but, we're people too.
Absolutely.
We're people too. And I always just think it's great for people to see that. So these next couple questions are just really about like, what is something that you're looking forward to over the next couple of months? I think, a lot of eyes are on November, but I think it's so important for us to sometimes have, some visioning beyond what's clearly so in front of us. So what are you looking forward to?
Yeah, wonderful question. And I look forward to your answer also. I look forward to, what do I look forward to? Wow, I should definitely have an answer for this because I think I'm so eye on November that I'm just so focused, but also like, I think I'm looking forward to just like rest, if I'm being honest. Because like, I just look forward to, because I need to plan a vacation because like I'm just like, wow, I've just been going. So I look forward to rest and kind of just like playing video games. Because during quarantine, not actually, no, it was before quarantine, I got a Nintendo Switch. And then during quarantine, yes. Because I'm a semi gamer, but not really, because I'm not really good at it. But I bought my Switch and then I got Animal Crossing, and that's just been, how I keep my head on my shoulders. Because like this year has just been such a mess. And yeah, so a lot of things that have been bringing me joy are technology, unfortunately, but what I look forward to is definitely just like rest and kind of just like relaxing and playing video games and not thinking about politics. But yeah, what about you, Michelle?
Oh my goodness. First of all, like my heart, I love video games. Okay, like I love video games. And I really want to switch so I can play Animal Crossing. I have really fond memories of playing that when I was a kid. I just I have
It's
a
a
hard time
staple.
playing with games that are based on real time. So for folks who haven't played Animal Crossing, this is a game that like if you turn it on at 6 o'clock in the morning, it's 6 o'clock in the morning in the game. And if you play it again at like 11 o'clock at night, it's 11 o'clock at night in the game, unless you change the clock and stuff like that. I struggle with it because my schedule's a little all over the place. But I definitely believe, like, I know for me, one thing that sustains me a lot is that I play Sims. I get to build houses and, live my dream life where I can have a house and,
Building freedom through the Sims.
afford all the, have basic human rights. No, like, okay, so I definitely think like what I'm looking forward to your point, is really having just a moment of rest or collective breath. I am very much, I will say, and I feel the wave of love and attention that we're getting from the community because I had the pleasure of talking to a group of young folks, and I say young folks like I'm not young, but they were much younger than me, and they made me feel older. So that's what like they were like probably like fresh 18 years old, and so like they were just like and for them this is the first time coming into voting, and it's like this is what they're coming into.
Right?
So I was like, I had explained to them though, I said, for me, I've always been like a little bit of like a political junkie, right? Like I just love learning about politics. This is like I was very fortunate to kind of find my little niche in life at an early age. But the way that we're having conversations now is so different than what we did 10 years ago, even 5 or 4 years ago, around politics and people really taking action to get involved. That I'm like, I think for me, I'm just looking forward to that, like, regardless of whatever is going on, we're pushing, the throttle to get people to turn out the vote. Is that I really do believe that community is going to come together. Absolutely. And that we actually have an opportunity to continue to build up something a little bit, not even a little bit, but just build something better.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's like COVID-19 really shined a light on a number of existing crises that were already happening. Like what's going on with utilities, what's going on with the climate, what's going on with healthcare, what's going on with schooling, childcare, jobs, wages, housing, like you name it, it's there. Our communities have been really hurting with this well before COVID. We've been on the ground doing it, but I think now, with the ways that we're going about it, like that's really what's been keeping me going. Is that like getting more people involved, and they're like, yeah, like there's something wrong. Cause I'm like, I remember being like, talking about this stuff, the looks that people would give you, like, oh, what are you looking for? And now it's like, yeah, like, and it's like, come on, people.
Yeah, specifically for me, specifically around like mutual aid, around how like, when COVID hit and basically there was no stimulus check and everybody was quarantining, because there was like that period of time like where people were sheltering in place, but also everything was getting canceled, everything was freezing. So people were watching their income like evaporate into thin air within like a week. And that was like such a scary time. However, it was just interesting because we all watched, all of us, specifically working class people, people of color, come together and be like, all right, so here's this mutual aid for mamas, here's this mutual aid for this. Just like at our work building, there's a diaper drive going on, and I had to make sure I go and get, diapers, because I am a reproductive justice advocate, I am abortion positive. So I went and got diapers because like, and then when I was looking, I was like, wow, diapers are pricey. Like I was like, good Lord. I was like, I need to go back and buy more because I'm like, this is expensive. And like for me, I'm thinking about it because like some of the people that push back on like fight the hype, people will be like, oh, well, like your bill will only go up by like $20. Or, oh, it only go by up by this much. I'm just like, you don't understand that if you are a single mother, like everything is planned to the T. Like you don't have like an extra couple dollars to sprinkle somewhere else. Like you have to make sure you eat, you have to make sure your child eats, and you have to make sure that child is taken care of. And that means food, that means school, that means all the things. So like the people who are paying these bills are often single parents, and I think it's really important to name that, because I'm just like, as we care for each other, that's what I'm looking forward to, like a better care for each other, instead of being like, oh well, I can pay my bill, if they can't, that's them. Like leaning into communal care and being like, actually, it's actually like, even if I can pay my bill, it's still wrong that this mother or this parent down the street is trying desperately to keep their lights on and can't. Like that's still messed up. So yeah, that's definitely something I look forward to. It makes me excited. And I totally feel you about like young people, because sometimes youth climate activists are like 12, 15. And I'm just like, wow, I am so old.
Like, wow, you're really out here doing this at 12. Like, what? It's amazing. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. If anything, the because like I'm a member of Gen Z, but I'm definitely an older member of Gen Z. But like the really young ones just inspire me so much, because like they're just like these rabble rousers. Like they're just like they're not going for it, because I feel like generations prior were like, incremental change, we'll get there eventually. Whereas like Gen Z is like, no, we want to get there tomorrow. Like we're tired of this, because I mean, like when we're looking at the orange sky, when we're looking at the fire debris, like when we're looking at the gray skies, all the pollution, like the climate is essentially screaming at us. Like it's like, look y'all, I'm about to wrap this up real quick. And it's just like, and because I'm thinking of like Southwest Louisiana, who's about to get hit by another hurricane, and like I'm in my mind thinking about how much money I can donate to that mutual aid, or what I can give to that mutual aid, because like while I'm in Georgia, I still consider, the Gulf South, I still consider those frontline communities very much so me, because like my understanding of community is Georgia and Atlanta and stuff like that, but also other Black people, other frontline communities that are looking the climate crisis straight in the eye and having to have really real conversations about how we're going to protect our families, whether that be energy bills or how we about to move our whole house in a matter of 2 days. So yeah, that's what I look forward to. Just like really just being in community with people and having like honest conversations about like whether it's Ilhan Omar or whether it's whoever is in the White House, these people are not going to save us and these people will not be our detriment. Like we got us and we will do this. That's kind of just like what keeps me, you know, excited.
I know, right? I was like, it's definitely, to your point, it's the people power. Like
Absolutely.
we work together, we not only vote, but we hold those who are elected accountable. We, you know, stay informed on the issues, and then we let other people know what we know. Like that's the best way to hold community. And then also the mutual aid and sharing resources, because like you said, diapers are expensive. Okay, like they are. Oh my goodness.
Similac. I was looking at them Similac prices. I was like, wait a minute. Is this gonna make how is the baby okay? Like, why is this so expensive? Like, is it gonna make a super ultra baby? Like, what is happening?
Oh my gosh. And so I think like one thing I want to ask of you, and this is just to round us out a bit.
Cool.
Got a few more minutes left. Is that as you may have heard as you came in, we had music. And that's because we are building playlists of just the jams that are keeping us going. So what is a jam you want to put on the playlist for today?
Ooh, oh my gosh, that's a wonderful question. I definitely have to pull up my title because I'm just like, because like for me, it just depends on like the mood. For me, is Patti LaBelle already on the playlist?
No, what we want from Patti?
See, because I don't know if I want to say like, because I want to do Patti, New Attitude, but also I would love What Is Love? It's a Janelle Monáe song that she did for a soundtrack. But those two songs just really, they really get me moving. Especially New Attitude, because I'm just like, you know what? Because I was watching that Versus where and this is just like a sidebar, but I was watching that Versus in the middle of it or so, Patti LaBelle goes like, she said something like shout out to like gay people or something like that. And she's like, shout out to the LGBT community, like they keep me young. And like that's just been like joy that's been sitting in my heart for just because like there's so much homophobia going on, and the fact that these two Black women in their 70s are just like, yeah, shout out to gay people. Like I just thought that was so cute. And so now, because I had of course listened to Patti LaBelle and Gladys Knight prior, but still after that Versus, I was like, now I have to play them like every day, just as like a queer affirmation.
I feel that we need more queer affirmations, and so we love having you. So this jam is for you. Okay, we appreciate you all the love in the comments. Thank you all for tuning in with us this Friday. Gayla, thank you for being our special guest. We'd love to have you back on as we continue to out more series, more dig down deeper about how we started to definitely want to have more into conversation about how we can clear out and bring out more Black people. I think that's totally dope. Clear it up in there. Oh my goodness. We really, loving the people. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. We'll also be back on Instagram Live tonight on Twitch. So Gayla, if you want to pop in, we'd love to have you back on. I'll start at 6 p.m. as well. And then, of course, we're doing this every Friday right now for the month of October leading up to tonight. So, please, if you haven't already, make sure to check out the links in the comments for folks who are listening to this in the future. Those links in the comments that have resources to the Public Service Commission Accountability Project. We got the Pledge to Vote in there. We got the vote resources that Gayla has mentioned to us as well in the comments. Love to have you all sign up, get involved, because we're really trying to build out some people power. And Patti got it right here. We're trying to build a new attitude. Okay?
If anything, you should come back for the information, but also the music, because what is the movement without music? What is it?
Vibe, literally vibe. Okay, that's what that's what we have to do. So, yeah, thank you so much. Make sure to check out Georgia Conservation Voters on Facebook as well. And until next time, everyone, have a good night. Yeah, thanks, Michelle. This has been amazing, and I'll see you later.